Welcome to French Beaded Flowers 101. If you've always wanted to make French beaded flowers, but always felt intimidated because it looks so hard, then you are in the right place. Hi everyone, I'm Fen Li, designer here at the Bead Flora studio, author to the book Bead Flora, the revival of French beaded flowers, and a bead instructor at the Bead and Button show. On this channel, I offer technique reference guides, tip videos, and free beaded flower tutorials just like this one. If you are new here and would like to learn more, consider subscribing. Today's project is the first project in my book, Spring Blossoms. This is the first out of 6 technique practice projects from my book. This project is the ultimate beginner's practice project because it will teach you 3 of the most basic techniques, but it won't take as long as a full flower project, and we all love instant gratification, myself included. Yes, I've done this project on my channel when I first released my book, but I wanted to remake the video for the series that I'm doing. And as I learned more about teaching, and yes, I need to learn how to teach better, I have a lot more tips to share with you than when the book was first written, so that you can shorten your learning curve and be even more successful when starting out to make French beaded flowers. If you are a needle and thread beader, just know that it's completely different than French beading, where we use wire instead of thread. When you put the beads in place with thread, it looks absolutely perfect no matter your beading level. And I used to dabble a little bit with bead weaving. It's different with wire. Just know that it is okay if your first attempts are not perfect. Perfection comes from practice. Your first flowers will be messy, but you need to start. Let's start with your first messy flower. For this spring flowers project, we'll be using size 11 seed beads. For the petals, we'll be using transparent rainbow red. For the center, we'll be using a transparent rainbow yellow. For the calyx and the leaves, we'll be using a transparent green. For wire, we'll be using 24 gauge copper core wire. For the petals and the center, we'll be using silver. For the leaves and calyx, we'll be using green. To attach the flowers, we'll use floral tape. Now we'll be making the center. The technique we'll be learning is the loop. I have a 10-inch length of silver wire here. Position the beads in the middle of the 10-inch length of wire and cross the wires beneath the beads to form a loop. Put the cross over your forefinger. This way it steadies the loop and you won't see a lot of bare wire space. Twist the wire to form the loop. Now we have one 5-bead loop. We're going to make the calyx, and the technique we'll learn is the continuous loop. And I already have some green beads strung on a spool of 24 gauge wire. We're going to need a 5-inch tail. and then make a 10 bead loop. Then another loop right next to the first one. The easiest way to steady the loop is to put the cross over your forefinger right here and take your thumb and hold on to the working wire so that it leaves you with less bare wire space. And then twist this twice. The pattern calls for 5 continuous loops. Now that all 5 loops are done, I'm going to cut another 4-inch tail off the spool. I'm going to cut this also. Now take the ending tail wires and twist it slightly at the base. Now we have 5 10 bead continuous loops. Next, we're going to make the petals, and the technique we're learning is the continuous wraparound loop. I already have some red beads strung on silver wire. You can also use red wire. Let's unwind this. To start, we're going to need a 5-inch tail and then make a 10 bead loop. This wire here is the working wire or the spool wire, and this wire here is the tail wire. Because I am right-handed, I'm going to wrap from left to right. If you are left-handed, you can wrap from right to left. Or it doesn't really matter if you're right-handed or left-handed. Just wrap the way that you are most comfortable with. For me, I prefer to wrap from left to right. I'm going to take this working wire and move it to the left-hand side. Feed the beads onto the working wire until it covers all of the bare wire right here, and wrap it around the initial loop. And I have the tail facing up. We always want to wrap one way. I'm going to remove the excess beads right here before the tail wire. Now take the working wire, go behind the tail wire, and bring it back to the front. After we have repositioned this, the working wire is back on the left-hand side. Now we have a double wraparound loop. If we were to wrap this around one more time, we'll have a triple wraparound loop. If we were to wrap this around another time, we'll have a quadruple wraparound loop. But for this pattern, I only want a double loop. So after I'm done with the double wrap around loop, I'm going to bring the working wire behind the tail wire one more time. Now the working wire is back on the right hand side. We're going to make the petal right next to the first one. So we're going to leave about 1/8 inch of space and make another 10 bead loop. I'm going to take this working wire and move it to the left hand side. Feed the beads on and make sure it covers all of the wire here. And sometimes you can hear the beads click. Now wrap it around. We're going to wrap around this in-between wire right here. Remove any excess beads, go behind and back to the front. And because we are done with this wraparound loop, take the working wire one more time and go behind the in-between wire there so that the working wire is back on the right-hand side. Now we have two 10-bead double wraparound loops. I'm going to keep going until I have 5 petals made. I'm going to cut another tail off the spool. Now take the 2 ending tail wires and twist them slightly at the base. Now we have 5 10-bead double wraparound loops. Next, we're going to make some leaves. And the technique we'll be learning is called the basic frame. And I already have some green beads already strung on a spool of 24 gauge green copper core wire. The pattern calls for a 3-bead basic. So we're going to move 3 beads to the end here. Mark the 1-inch mark on your wire and then take the working wire and make a cross at the 1-inch mark. I want this to be a 5-inch loop, so I'm going to adjust this to be bigger. Place the cross over your forefinger and put your thumb over it. At this point, you can adjust the size of the loop by pulling on it this way to make it bigger, or pulling on the wire here to make it smaller. And I want this to be a 5-inch loop, so I'm going to adjust this to be bigger. So hold onto the cross tightly and then twist. I have about 1/2 inch of twisted wire. We started with 3 beads, and it's called a 3-bead basic. This wire here is called the top basic wire. This is the twisted wire. And this is the basic loop. So when a pattern calls for the twisted wire and the loop to be 5 inches, you want here to be 5 inches. And this wire here is called the working wire or the spool wire. Feed the beads and line it up with the first row, which is also called the basic row. At this point, we are not counting beads. We just want to push the beads to cover all of the bare wire right before the basic row. And because bead sizes will vary, we don't want to constrain ourselves to how many beads there are on each row. We just want to have the right amount of beads to cover the bare wire. Take the working wire, go behind the basic wire, and then back to the front. So now we have 2 rows. Feed some more beads on. Bend down and line it up with the basic row. And now we're going to turn this counterclockwise so that we are always wrapping at the same position. Remove any excess beads. Go behind the twisted wire and then back to the front. So now we have a 3-bead basic, 3 rows. And this is a rounded top, rounded bottom because of the way we wrapped. In another project, I'll show you how to do a pointed top because leaves have points too. For this pattern, we are making 7 rows. We have all 7 rows done. Take the working wire and wrap it down the twisted wire and twist it just a little bit. Cut off the working wire here. And don't forget to knot this here so the beads don't come flying off. Twist this here so we don't poke ourselves later on this little wire. Cut at the end of the loop. So now we have 2 bottom tail wires. And to finish the top, cut off the wire, leaving a little nub. Turn it around and bend it down. So here we have a 3-bead basic, rounded top, rounded bottom, 7 rows. We are ready to assemble. We have a center, petals, calyx, and 2 leaves. Take the center and insert that into the hole of the petals. Then insert all those wires in the hole of the calyx. Now scissor the base of the flower and twist the wires together, or you can also use pliers. Now we're going to add the leaves here, so we're going to use floral tape. We're going to release the stickiness by pulling on it slightly. It is not sticky by itself. You need to release the stickiness by pulling on it. Then wrap it around the stem. And I also want to add the last one right here. I'm going to cut the wires here so that they are all flush. Cut the floral tape with scissors or even rip it with your hand. And then twist it and bend it up a bit. Now, question of the day. What's holding you back from starting French beading? Will you finally take the plunge today? I put together some kits and listed it in my Etsy shop. Limited kits are available, so grab yours today. Also, the Bead and Button show was originally postponed, but now it's canceled. With how the pandemic is going, they felt that it was for the best. So good news for you. I've listed some bead kits in my Etsy shop that I made exclusively for the bead show. Each kit includes all the materials you need to make the project. Connect with me on Facebook and Instagram, where I'll announce when I list a new kit. Have you gotten a copy of my book yet? Did you know that you can read it for free with Amazon Kindle Unlimited with a 30-day free trial? I'll put the links in the description below where you can get a copy of my book. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified of whenever I release a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week with a new tutorial. Bye.